Can I request everybody to just settle down? Please take your seats. I'm just going to invite the panelists. Can I request everybody to please sit down? I think those who are even sitting inside, if you can just come and take your seats, please. Vishal, can you please come on stage? Vishal is the president of ALMA, 1987 batch. He has his company, Star Om Group. It's a real estate company operating out of Calcutta and Mumbai, also into port logistics, and he's the Honorary Consul General of Kazakhstan. Senior Counsel, Advocate Jishnu Saha, 1980 batch, requested to please come on the stage. We have three people from the legal fraternity today. So it's a heavyweight legal division. Advocate Ranjan Bachawat, 1982 batch. Both Ranjan and Jishnu have been right in the front, boots on the ground as far as legal cases are concerned for ALMA. Dr. Sharon Ghose from the Girls' School, 1975 batch. We made sure that she is not the only person from 1975 batch, so we flew down Inu Madan and his son from the US. Inu Madan, just raise your hand, you're from the 1975 batch. He's sitting at the back. He's sitting at the back because he had a car crash about 6 months ago, so he needs more space. But I've been meeting him yesterday and this morning at the Russell Street Dhaba. Sharon is with the Neotia Hospital. Also, her father was on the board in the 70s, Sharon, on the board of La Martinians,
yes,
mid to late 70s.
Going into the 80s.
That's right. And last but not the least, the little big man. I always refer to him as the little big man, referring to Dustin Hoffman's movie, which is Avik. Avik is advocate, he's a politician, and Avik, you were an athlete in school, right? And it's important to tell you how I met Avik for the first time. This is early 2000. A friend of mine, my batchmate, he's no more, Vicky Sahil, he had to sell some property, so we went to Avik's office. And when all the work was done, we were walking out and Avik tells me, "Are you Romi Bhandari?" And I said, "Yes." He made sure first all the work was done, you know, whatever had to be taken care of. And since then, we've been in touch regularly. Founder, Major General Claude Martin of La Martinians. The past, the present, and the future. And if I simply put it, it's Kal, Aaj, or Kal. It somehow seems that controversy is the middle name of La Martinians because it's contentious, there are cases, and we need to find the path, how do we move forward. Very recently, we've had media coverage on the steps, the heritage issue, and after that, everybody decided that let's have a seminar. And while the seminar was going to take place, it was also decided that we will all, let's have a gathering. We'll invite alumni. Who is the senior most person sitting in the audience today? If I go by 1970 batch, Is Shivaji Da here? Is Shivaji, because I found his name was there on the list. I think he's 1959. Okay, and 1970 is taken care of. Anybody else before 1970? Okay, I also see some former teachers here, so it's a pleasure that we are all here. Inu, is my voice clear at the back? Yeah, it is, right. Let's move forward. The format for today. The format is pretty simple. We have 5 speakers. Each speaker gets approximately 5 to 7 minutes. And once that is over, we will ask the audience if you need to value add anything, or if you have a question specifically for a particular person on the panel or the panel, so that they will speak and then they will address that. First speaker, Vishal is going to be the first speaker, and Vishal, I'd like you to touch on a few points. What do you think have been some of the key achievements for ALMA over the years? Something about the benevolent fund. I know that teachers and students who have, past students who have required financial aid, ALMA has given that. And I must mention about this, my batchmate from 1974 match who died last year, the gold medalist, there's a process we need to follow. They will do their due diligence. But once we put this forward, and I know that money was transferred to his bank account, and he died probably just a week after that money was there in the bank. Vishal.
Thank you, Rumi. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. And thank you for taking time out today to be here with us. I am the current president of ALMA, and as Rumi wanted me to give a brief on the basic what ALMA is doing and what we have achieved in last few years. We were founded in 2007. Our founding president, Mr. Avik Shah, is here, and it's been a 17-year-old journey for ALMA. Essentially, we had at that time found a gap that we did not have an alumni association for such an important institute of Calcutta, and because of that need, we all got together to form this association. Essentially to connect the alumni and bring them on one platform and to connect with the school. So this was the first primary objective of ALMA. We started organizing events, past versus present events, which we call ALMA versus present now. And we have various sporting events where the past and present get together. And then we do organize the bonfire night and the Founders Day dinner also. Apart from that, a few years back, we started an event called the Felicitation of Outstanding Students. So for both ICSE and ISC in both the schools, the top 10 students are felicitated in the presence of the school management and ALMA and the parents of the students. The parents and the students really appreciate this effort because they are felicitated for an effort they have made and achieved something. 4 or 5 years back, we started an exchange program with Martinians Lucknow on the alumni level. And I'm happy to state that every year we have been having this exchange on the alumni level. Alternate years, either they come or we go from here. And from this year, we have started an inter-alumni golf tournament, which we played in Lucknow this year. And next year, we are planning to add other sports also, like swimming and debate. So we both the schools, Lucknow and Calcutta, were founded by the same founder. But till 4 or 5 years back, we were not properly connected through the alumni. And with this effort, both the alumni schools, both the schools' alumni are very well connected. And the events which we have now, like Founders Day in Calcutta or Lucknow, are attended by both the schools, Lucknow and Calcutta, both. Now coming to Benevolent Fund, which Romi was talking about. This fund was started by one of our past presidents' tenure, Mr. Jaydeep Chitlangia. It was his idea. And he's here. If you could raise your hand. So this was a unique program where every membership we collected, 2,000 rupees from that automatically was transferred to the Benevolent Fund. And the idea was to have this fund was to help teachers, mostly former teachers, and former staff of La Martiniere. It could be anyone. And later we expanded it to ex-students also, if they were in need of funds. And I'm happy to say that we have really helped many lives. And see, we have a limitation that how much we can give from this fund. But we start with this fund, and then we help raise further funds for anyone, any teacher, or even, we have had a teacher whose child was sick, and we helped that teacher also with that. So this is one fund which is available for the Martinian family. And of course, we top it up with other donations also from different students, ex-students. One of the biggest achievements what we've had till now, I don't know whether all of you are aware, that a school was opened in the name of La Martiniere Oxford Mission in Behala. Now, it took us a lot of perseverance and interaction, but ultimately the board of La Martiniere Oxford Mission agreed to change the name and remove the name La Martiniere from them. So that was a real big achievement because we didn't want another La Martiniere in Calcutta because we are not a DPS franchise school. We have a legacy of 200 years which we want to preserve. Similarly, ALMA has been on the forefront of protecting the interest of the school. So there are various cases going on in the High Court, which the legal team will brief you more in detail about. Recently, you must have read in the papers that the stone staircase on the south end of the chapel was removed or changed into marble steps. And this was done during the puja holidays, so no one could come to know about it. And by the time we came to know, we immediately wrote to the school to stop all activities, which we didn't get any response from the school. So ultimately, we had to take steps to have it stopped legally, and which was done. And a stop work notice has been issued to the school, and further steps will be taken as per law. Of course, we will see if this can be restored. Otherwise, whatever action is there as per law will be taken. So ALMA, again, in this case, as always, has been in the forefront of protecting the legacy and the heritage of the school. I think I've covered most of the points about what ALMA is doing. Thank you.
We now move to the will of the founder. I'm going to invite first Jishnu. And I think between Jishnu and Ranjan, they also have some data which they want to share with everybody. But Jishnu, the issue is the letter and spirit of the will, is it being followed? What is your perception? And what is the real intent of the will?
Yeah, good evening. Before I take upon myself to answer the question directly, I think a little bit of background is required. Now, we start with the premise of hail, hail the name we own. Now, if we own the name La Martinia and we seek to hail and uphold it, then with this ownership comes a duty and a responsibility. And the question is that how have we discharged this duty over the past so many years? So far as the school is constituted, we are under the impression that the school was established by Major General Claude Martin. That was not the case. So if anybody is under a misapprehension about this, we need to remove that. He did leave behind a bequest with the object of establishing a school in the city of Kolkata. And ultimately that found resonance in the High Court, in then the Supreme Court of Judicature, and the school was set up by a decree of the Supreme Court. Ranjan will elaborate on that. And it was never intended really to be a Christian school. Ranjan will take you through clauses of the will which will show you that it was never the intention of Major General Claude Martin that it should be a Christian or a missionary institution as we understand it. And ultimately the decree initially that was passed to ultimately set up the school, and the school was set up pursuant to such decree of court. This decree was later modified in the year 1944, and that is where the real genius of the governance of the school came in. Now, the school was established as a trust because ultimately the court established the school, and the court therefore assumed some responsibility so far as the school is concerned. In law, we now call it the parent's patrie jurisdiction, that you act like a parent of the school. Of course, the concept started with the state, but it has been imported into public, religious, and charitable institutions. So ultimately, when the court establishes the school, the court really takes upon itself the responsibility to devise manner and methods of administration of the school. And the initial decree of the school, which Ranjan will, I'm sure, also highlight, pointed out that the court reserved the right to modify the decree as and when it so deemed fit. So in 1944, when India was still under the British rule, there was a modification to this initial decree, and that decree provided for the general basis of administration of the school. Now, it said that the school will be managed by a board of 12 governors. It, however, provided that these 12 governors will be all ex officio governors and be appointed from members of the Christian faith and be appointed from certain institutions, most of which are no longer in existence. But the basic character of the school was a school managed by not a single individual, not by two people, but by a board of 12 governors. And it is these 12 governors who would in turn appoint 4 governors every year as additional governors who would hold office for a period of 1 year. And so therefore there would be a committee of 16 people every year to administer the school. And it is by their majority vote or by the consensus of the majority that the school and its affairs would be managed. That was the intention. That was the intention of the court, because the court created a constructive trust so far as the school is concerned and decided that this is the method or manner of administration of the trust. Now the question is, somewhere down the line, all these institutions vanished one by one. For example, the governor of Bengal ceased to exist with India becoming a republic. So all these institutions ceased one by one, and ultimately we were left with only the bishop and the presbyter of the Church of St. Andrews, who was also really a person who was the bishop's appointee for all practical purposes. So in due course of time, it came down to a school which was being managed by 2 or essentially 1 individual. Now this was contrary to the constitution of the school, which was established pursuant to the decree of 1944, which also clearly provided that the school would be managed by a board of 12 ex officio governors and 4 additional governors who would be appointed each year and would retire at the end of each year. Now the question is that if we own the responsibility towards the school and its name, why did none of us notice this? Why does none of us sit up and protest against this? Why were we also complacent, and why did we all allow this thing to go on? Because whatever was happening contrary to the constitution of the school, contrary to the constituting documents of the school, which was the decree of court. So in fact, all resolutions that were being passed by the school were contrary to this decree, contrary to the constitution of the school. But no one thought of raising a voice against this. And it all came to pass ultimately when there was a board of 4 additional governors that was appointed by the school. I will not take names of persons. But of that, we have 2 who are present today. Mr. Anil Mukherjee is there. He was right in the forefront of the challenge. And we also had Mr. Shane Calvert, who was at that point of time appointed the secretary of the school. Now suddenly, because ultimately it came to be a school or an institution governed by the whims of single or 2 individuals, suddenly, with the change in the bishop, these persons were removed from the board. Now it is at that point of time that they thought of challenging their removal, which was very summary in nature, and they thought of scrutinizing the constitution documents of the school. That is where we stepped in, Ranjan and myself. And we discovered, much to our shock, that the school was A, not a missionary institution, definitely not a Christian school, definitely a school which was to be governed by the church, definitely not a school which was to be governed by one or a body of individuals chosen by one. And the school had to be managed by more than one person. It was to be managed by 12 people who were, as per the intention of the original decree of the school and therefore thereafter the amended decree of 1944, who were to be respectable persons and responsible people from the society. But unfortunately, it was all fair and foul is fair, so that is how it went on. It is at that point of time the challenge came across. And I would have expected that when today you have a constitution document, you have a decree of court, you have the court which monitors the administration of the school, and you have a situation where ultimately it is established that these institutions out of which these 12 governors are to be nominated have ceased to exist, or most of them have ceased to exist. There has to be an amendment to the manner of administration of the school. So there has to be a new scheme framed for administering the school, deciding who will now be the present board of governors, from what segment of the society they will be ultimately nominated to the board. All that to be done. Now I would have expected someone who was in charge of the school at the relevant point of time to immediately say, yes, this is the object of the decree. This is ultimately how the bequest of the founder is to be given effect to. But much to our surprise, today the school, it just opened up its coffers, tried to employ the most expensive legal brains to contest this position and to say the no. The school was being managed with whatever we had, that is with one person, and that is how it should continue. No basis, no justification. Every technical gambit that could be employed was taken. Every technical plea that could be taken was ultimately employed. And that is how the situation went on. Now coming to the question of the will. I think what I have said till now broadly answers the question. The purpose, the spirit of the will was to provide education to the people of Calcutta, irrespective of their sex, irrespective of their religion. And that is very clearly mentioned in the will. And although Claude Martin said in his will that I am of the Christian faith, of the Roman Catholic faith, he said, I respect all religions. Very clearly, without any ambiguity, he said, I respect all religion because I respect that the Creator is at the end of the day one. And he never said that the school should be managed or administered only by Christians. So therefore, we have a situation today where the perception over the years is that La Martiniere is a Christian or a missionary institution. And the perception over the years is La Martiniere is to be managed by Christians or people of the Christian faith, or to put it more particularly by the Church of North India, which was never the intention of the testator, that is Major General Claude Martin. If the will has to be looked at, if one has to search for the words that this will be a Christian institution, that I intend to set up with the funds that I leave behind, there is absolutely no mention of that. However, we now have a situation where the present persons in management of the school are trying their hardest to say that this is a minority Christian institution, And so therefore it should be managed only by the Christian minority of the state, which is not, absolutely not the case. Secondly, so far as the school is concerned, the school says that it will be a school set up for people of all faith. And if it is a school to be set up for people of all faith, and there is no mention that the school will be managed or administered by people of the Christian faith, then there is no possible or earthly reason why we should not have a board of governors now, which will ultimately have people from all faith. And just to give you a point and example, La Martiniere Lucknow has now done away with the Christian governors and now has a board which is constituted of representatives of every segment of the society, irrespective of their religion, irrespective of their faith. There is no reason why La Martiniere, Kolkata or Calcutta should not follow suit. But unfortunately, there is an attempt, and a very strong attempt, and a very expensive attempt, to steadfastly hold on to the notion that it is a Christian institution, so it should be managed only by people of the Christian faith. While we have all grown up in the assembly of La Martiniere, we all know what hymns are, we have grown up singing hymns. We have also sung the school song where we have hailed the name La Martiniere. And the name La Martiniere has been a secular name and a very cosmopolitan name, as we all know. So therefore, there is absolutely no reason to now buckle down and say that no, we will still kowtow to the notion that it is a Christian or a missionary institution to be run by the Christians alone. So there are two things that now follow, which are now before the High Court of Kolkata. Number one, is it a minority institution? No. Number two, is it to be managed by only the Bishop of Calcutta or the Bishop of the Church of North India in Calcutta and by the Presbyter of the St. Andrew's Church? Answer is no. The next question is there need to frame a scheme for the school which will ultimately have the school managed by a board of governors of 12 plus 4? The answer is absolutely yes, which means that it can no longer be governed by only the bishop or by the presbyter of the St. Andrew's Church. Number 4 is that should we have a board which should have a wide representation from every segment of our society, from people who are responsible and respectable in our society? The answer is yes. And that is what we are fighting to establish. We have not yet won the battle, but I can say that we have made very, very good progress in it. And we are hoping that by the end of this year or by early next year, we should have a situation where we can ask for overhauling the entire board of governors of the school. Because we have won every round of litigation thus far. So to put it in another form, we have won the battle but not the war, but we are expecting to win the war very soon. Thank you. I think that answers the question for the present.
Not only have you answered the question, you've also quoted from Macbeth, so you still remember a few lines. And I must add that we have, 3 legal brains with us on stage, so it's like, when shall we 3 meet again in thunder, lightning, or in rain? And yes, there's a lot of thunder, and there's a lot of lightning, and there is going to be rain. I now move to Ranjan. 1982 batch, and you have a lot of friends here also who are present here today. Ranjan, I want you to touch on a few points. Controversy and cases. Other similar cases, there could be other educational institutions or other institutions which have had, similar cases. Portions from the will which you would like to show and share and explain. And then, I think already it has been mentioned about, what should be the composition of the board. That's been mentioned, but I think if you can focus on the will. There are so many questions floating around, and it's ultimately, it all depends on the board which will be constituted. There are questions on what should be the teacher-student ratio. Why is money being spent, but the bathrooms are not, there's no money being spent on the bathrooms. There are innumerable questions. But for this moment, we focus on the will.
He's taken you all through most of the important things to do with the will. There's a little twist. Now, I'll take you through some boring details. He's given you the overview. For that, what I have is firstly, a copy of the will. I've been told it will be displayed here. Now, he's already told you about the will. Now, this is a typed copy of the will and a portion of it. Now, what I will tell you is it's a very, very long will. Now, Major General Claude Martin, he did not only think of Lamartinia or a Lamartinia Calcutta. It's a long will which takes care of a number of bequests. Firstly, for his hometown. Secondly, where he lived in Lucknow. And thirdly, Calcutta. He also wanted to take care of people from all religions in the will. When you go through the details, you'll find he's taken care of the needs of Hindus, well, the poor Hindus, Muslims, and Christians. And he's made separate provision for them. Now, one of the things he wanted to do was to do good for the public of Calcutta. The will specifically mentions it, and I'll take you through that portion if required. It specifically says it is to do good for the public of Calcutta or to set up a school. Now, what he says is, I don't know how to go about setting it up, so I leave it to the High Court to do it. In those days, it used to be known as the Supreme Court, so I leave it to them to do the best that it could. And well, that's the bequest he left, with fixed amounts of money for doing each of these. Now, you'll find from the will, he talks about all religions. He talks about doing good to all. He says he was born a Christian and he died a Christian, but he's gone through all religions, found them all to be the same, and he makes charitable bequests to all. Now, in setting up the school, question arises, did he intend it to be a Christian school? Please bear in mind, number one, he was an army man, he was not a missionary. He never was. Number two, he was a Frenchman. Now, in setting up the will, he does not leave any direction that this is to be a Christian school or teachings there are to be based on the Bible or any such thing. What he does say is that out of the Christian families in Calcutta, the school or the bequest made in his will take care of the needs of a certain number of Christian students in Calcutta, including their livelihood, their training, and their education. So that is a special bequest because of which we have a category of students known as the foundationer. His wishes have always been followed. So this is what the school did. This is what the will did. It never said that there will be a Christian school. Now followed something else, an order of the High Court after probate was given to this will. Now if you could move right up, there is a chronology. If I take you through detailed orders, it will maybe a little much. But if you look at it, the will was of 1820. I've just summarized the points there. And if you have a look, born a Roman Catholic, he respected all religions, decided to do charity for people of all religions. Now, clause 24 is the bequest which is to do with Calcutta. It says the bequest is to the town of Calcutta under the protection of the government of the Supreme Court. So that's how, as Jishnu puts it, the Supreme Court became the protector of this legacy, which was bequest or the bequest there. And he wanted the institution to be framed for public good. Public good, not for the good of people of any particular religion. And he hoped that the Supreme Court would do it. So if you would just move on, just move downwards a little. Now, after probate was granted, a decree was passed by the court. So the court now takes over. And what it says is that this school will be conducted in conformity with clause 24, which dealt with the Calcutta school. Now, there is one thing you must remember. There's another clause taking care of the Lucknow school. Now, the Lucknow school moved in a different direction, as Jishnu's already told you, and ultimately by an order passed by this court, they decided to change their constitution and make it completely secular in nature. Now, the question which arises is how and when did our school suddenly seem to acquire Christian character? That's what I want to show you here. Now, in 1832, when the decree is passed, it says it is to be conducted in conformity with the will. The composition of the board did not put any restriction of the members being Christian. Now, what it had was ex officio positions, i.e. the governor of the state, judges of the High Court, and other such positions. Now, it may have happened that they were Christian, but there was no restriction in terms of Christianity. Now, here I add one more thing which is of relevance in present times. It also gave the power to the 8 or the 12 ex officio positions to appoint 4 additional members to the Board of Governors having equal power. So that's where it comes in from. And the court reserved the right to alter the scheme as and when required. Now, up to here, everything's hunky-dory. Now, if you just move up a little bit to the decree of 1946. Now, this amends the decree, and what you find now is that they will hold these positions, or they will be on the board, irrespective of the position they are in, provided they are Christians. Now, if you look at it, this is just before independence. I guess it was the Britishers leaving. It's probably that legacy they wanted to retain some kind of a control, and that's how this clause is introduced in 1946, saying that people will hold office as governors only if they are Christians. Now, I'm not taking you through these detailed orders. It'll be rather boring, so I've just, summarized it. So this became the situation. Then in 1968, the question arose in relation to a challenge with regard to the right of the Board of Governors to appoint principals. It was challenged by some students and parents. Now, in that context, you'll find the court did accept that the position of the governors must be provided they are Christians. But it went on to hold that that qualification will not apply to additional governors. That question never got decided finally at all. The court said that it will decide it at the final hearing of the suit, and that suit ultimately died a natural death. So this never came to be decided. The next watershed moment was 1996, when there was a litigation relating to grant of a lease. Now, the authority of the Board of Governors came up in challenge, and the judge got very annoyed, and he decided to supersede the entire Board of Governors, and he framed a scheme which made it completely secular, said irrespective of your religion, you will hold office. Now, since that was not the list before the court, that's not what the court was asked to decide. When it went up in appeal, that was set aside without contest. So both sides gave it up, and the situation is we are still stuck with a clause under which every member of the Board of Governors who holds it ex officio must be a Christian. And that is why this problem arises today. Now, if you just move up a little, down rather. Now, what's happened is this. Now, so what has happened is out of the 12 positions mentioned under this decree of the High Court, none of those positions are occupied by a Christian. Except for maybe one, no more. So the result is out of 12, 11 cannot hold the post. Which means that there is only one Christian who could possibly have been on the Board of Governors, and that was taken advantage of by the church perhaps to get that control by saying no one else has the right. Now what follows hereafter is you find that, look, there is a situation where out of necessity 10 out of the 12 posts became vacant. 2 were occupied by people from the Church of North India. Now what they did was they appointed, realizing that there can't be a quorum, they appointed 4 more people, the additional governors. That's what you'll find in para B. And they are all supposed to have equal powers. Now what happened was, they decided, 2 of those governors decided to remove the 4 remaining governors, which is what led to this litigation and led to discovery of the fact that A, the will does not say that it is to be a Christian association. B, the court clearly says that, look, however it is run, the court will have full right to decide the scheme. And number 3, the court has given effect to his will. Now, given this situation, the fact is, today, there is no quorum. The school is effectively now being run by one person because the second person is his nominee. And if you look at the last para over here, even the one person who is there perhaps doesn't qualify to be on the board. Now, given this situation, what we find is that the board comprising of the CNI nominees is neither an independent nor a representative body of 12 eminent persons from different fields as contemplated by the founder and the High Court. And there is a complete stalemate and a deadlock, and this is the given situation. Now, having given the history, two things remain. We are talking about our legacy and what is to happen in future. Well, one can find this, that there was an attempt to dilute the Lamartine legacy by opening a Lamartine Oxford mission. That somehow we managed to stop. So tomorrow a situation may come where a branch starts off as a Lamartine Oxford mission or a Lamartine Julian Day, and then the Lamartine goes out completely. This is the legacy, I think, which we need to protect. And well, so far we've been partly successful in ensuring that this can't happen. But going forward, the fact of the matter is that today there is no quorum. There are two people running the show. They have been avoiding any attempt to have 10 other people appointed. Now the court is very clear that this can't work. It had called for suggestions, saying think of a way in which it can be done. Everyone is clear about the fact that, well, there have to be other appointees. Others have to come in. Our school has to take a new direction. We have to modernize, and it can't be done with these two. So given this, as Jishnu says, it's a question of time, but it may be a long time. It may not be as short as Jishnu says, because they have the money power, the muscle, the matter will move up in appeal, there will be an appeal, there may be a Supreme Court. No one knows about these things. Now, the fact is there is a vacuum, something has to be done. It's a good thing that, well, ALMA has woken up, and it's high time that as ex-students, we owe it to the school. We are everything that we are because of the school. It's high time that we all woke up and did our duty. It's not just a legal duty of fighting it in courts. We've all gone and supported the RG Corps movement. Even Martinians have gone and done it. It's high time you all wake up for your school. And I think there's nothing better than collective action. You guys have to all, well, guys, girls, ladies, gentlemen, I think it's high time we got together. There's nothing like the power of the collective. And it's high time that the people who are running the school, governing the school, which is without a principal, its reputation is being run down. It's high time that we got together and did something. I don't say that it has to be agitation like the RG Corps movement, but something has to be done. Please wake up, involve people. I understand many of you can't because your kids are in school, but it's high time that we did something for them and the teachers who are being victimized, I believe, for having protested against what's been done to these days. Thanks.
There are many comments which keep floating around and people do not know the background. So it was very important, essential that the will is discussed, the will is debated, and you know we have three legal people, and both the people on my left-hand side, they have been on the forefront. I think it's not only the legal issue, but I could hear the emotion and the passion with which they have spoken. And what is ALMA? ALMA is ultimately, it's alumni who have got together, created a structure and taken it forward. It's so important that armchair comments need to be reduced. You need to understand issues and only then you can move forward. I now move to Sharon. Sharon, 1975 batch. And my questions to you. Change is inevitable. Having said that, you can't tamper with history, you can't tamper with heritage. We need to maintain that. And what are your views as far as the composition of the board is concerned?
Right. Good evening, everyone. So, batch of 75, with a father who was also in the school and also one of the Board of Governors, additional Board of Governors, and Christian to boot. So the powers that currently be would possibly want me to subscribe to the currently held vision or version that it is a church school, it is a Christian school, and its property is owned by the church. My views are very different, and they are hugely influenced by my father, who was on the board, and by my reading into both the will and other aspects of Claude Martin. And I would completely agree with what the previous two panelists have said, that there is nothing in the will of Claude Martin, which is the tenor, which makes for either La Martiniere, Lucknow, Lyon, or Calcutta to be a Christian institution. There's no mention of that word. They were, in the case of Calcutta, it was entrusted to the town of Calcutta, and as has been already mentioned, an institution for public good or for a school for children of either sex. There is no mention of religion. And as the other two panelists have also said, the word Christian starts creeping in only in the court orders. And it is the court who is the custodian, the ultimate custodian of La Martiniere. La Martiniere is not church property. La Martiniere is not under church governance. La Martiniere is not theoretically or legally a Christian organization. So all this would have been acceptable, the orders of court in 1832, I think, yes, 1832 to start with, where they ask for children to be taken from the Christian inhabitants of Calcutta, would be fine at a time when it was the British East India Company which was in charge. So there was no one to question them, and they said that the public good of Calcutta meant taking on Christian children. But at some point that changed too, didn't it? Because La Martiniere started taking on non-Christian children from 1935 or so. It started taking on non-Christian children, and I don't see that there was any amendment or law, please correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no amendment to that 1832 act which said Christian children to be taken. So I can only assume that one of the ways would have been that that existing Board of Governors at the time, 1836 onwards to 19, whoever was there, decided they could take on non-Christian children. And that seemed to be quite acceptable. You know, how did that happen? Why did no one question it at that time? And then we come to that final 1944 amendment, which then requires that everyone who is an officiating member of the board should be Christian. Well, I think we have moved on well beyond the early post-independent years. This is secular India. And we should be having people of this country, irrespective of religion, people with vision on this board. Doesn't matter if they are atheist, agnostic, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, whatever they choose to profess. What we need is people of vision to become a part of this school governing committee so that we can continue to maintain some degree of relevance in the city, in the field of education. We seem to have lost that. We are living off past glory. we are adding nothing to the public good as a school, and we don't seem to have charted a way forward for the children who are there. So I think, very rightly, it's very late, but it's still not too late. We need to have a proper functioning governing body, and we need to challenge what has been going on now since 1944. High time to change. Thank you.
I move to the last speaker on the panel. Avik, my questions to you. Lamartine and heritage. You started ALMA in 2007 with a couple of other Martinians, gave it shape. What are the challenges for ALMA? And how do you take this forward? How does the whole group take it forward?
Thanks, Rumi. Hello, everyone. Before I move on to the ALMA story and make some factual corrections, let's quickly, as a collective, understand why we are spending an hour and a half or more of our lives this evening sitting here. It's because of some words written on that backdrop: legacy and heritage. What I wanted to exhibit to you in real life was my grandson, who of course couldn't take so much heavy talk. So his grandfather went to Lamartine, his father went to Lamartine, but his parents decided that Lamartine is not a good enough school for him. And that is what we have met to discuss. Is Lamartine still a good enough school for children? It pains me that my grandson is not going to Lamartine. But when I think logically, I understand that the decision of his parents is based on logic and based on public logic. And I take it from here to the word public. The idea of Lamartine was born 224 years ago when Claude Martin died on 13 September 1800. His will became alive. It took 36 years for the court to set up the school. In 1836, the school started on 1st of March. And after all these years, we 40 people, and I've counted, I could be wrong by one or two, have gathered today, this evening, to ask this question: what is our heritage? What is the legacy? And my fellow panelists, Mr. Jishnu, Shah, and Mr. Ranjan Bachawat, and Dr. Sharon Ghose, have explained to you that it is the legacy, the heritage is to have an educational institution better than most for the citizens of Kolkata. They have explained to you that some people have taken away, pardon my words, stolen that heritage from us for their own petty ends and needs. That is how serious it is. And to borrow from what Mr. Ranjan Bachawat said, all of us in Lamartine, when we all got admitted, we thought we are part of a class movement. Time has now come for a mass movement, and we are the mass. In 2007, when ALMA was formed, and Romy, I didn't form it, there were 10 boys from equal number of batches who happened to have met me, and we were all shocked that, we don't have an official, formal, recognized alumni body. And now, from 2007 to 2014, we understand why this, 2024, I beg your pardon, we understand why there was never an alumni body, why the school didn't promote it. Every school wants its alumni to come back. They're proud of their alumni. And this is one school which refused to recognize ex-students. So we went ahead and we formed it, all of us. And it grew in number. And I'll tell you the bonding that exists. From 2007 till now, through democratic processes, ALMA has had 4 presidents. All 4 are in this room today. That is the bond we share. So why? 5, I'm sorry. I was always very bad in maths, but I'm improving. 4 is close to 5. Yes, the next one is due. So, the point I'm trying to make is that during the tenure of one of the principals, Mr. Shunirmal Chakraborty, ALMA got a letter box in the school. They've thrown out that letter box. They will not allow ALMA to receive letters from the school premises. That is the fear in which they live, the present administration. And all of us, it is our duty to rid them of their fear, to make them fearless, to make this school a public school. It was intended to be a public school run by public authorities, people of public eminence. I'm so happy that the former member of the Legislative Assembly representing the minority community is sitting in this room today. That tells all of us, not from the minority community, what the minority community wants. A doyen of the minority community, the Christian community, is sitting here today. I have spoken to many people and all of them said, the church cannot run this school. It doesn't belong. There are church orders which run schools, run it very well, and if you want, you can send your children there. There's St. Xavier's, the Jesuit Brothers, there's the Loreto Convent. It's called Loreto Convent. Has anyone ever called it La Martiniere Convent? And an effort is moving to convert what we knew as the round chapel into a serious chapel, so that the church, the footprint of the church, is firmly placed on the school. I don't know, I don't think anyone from our batch who sang hymns like I did converted. It was all understood. Look at the cosmopolitan character of La Martiniere and look where they've taken it. I think we want to get together via ALMA and every ex-student, whether or not you're a member of ALMA, to get the glory back. And not just our personal glories or our personal historical glories, but this glory of the whole city. If you do Wikipedia La Martiniere today, you will still find it is mentioned as arguably the best school of India. I just did it. I didn't know that. So that is the heritage. Here is someone who's not wanting us to put a letterbox for us to be connected to our heritage, and that's what this mass movement is all about. And that is ALMA. That is where the future of ALMA is, to band and bond together boys and girls who've passed through the hallowed portals of La Martiniere, and to make sure that we live as one community in peace and happiness and recognition of each other's diversities. Someone is trying to make La Martiniere very monotonous. Fight it. Stop it. It was diverse. There were Chinese boys, Armenians. I don't know, every religion I could think of, every regionality I could think of. If you go to La Martiniere, why my son did not put my grandson in La Martiniere is because that the fragrance of La Martiniere is lost. The color of La Martiniere is lost. And that is the heritage that we have gathered together this evening to retrieve, and we shall, because we've started the journey. That's what I wanted to say, Romy.
Avik, this reminds me of the Knights, one for all and all for one. So the word mass, the mass movement is, I think, the key word if I look at your bottom line. We're coming to the close of, the panelists have all spoken. I have a few, just 2 or 3 points to share. One, I need to look at the mobile. I've been informed that where we are sitting right now, the DI Club, former teachers like Milford Hennessy, Mr. David Suarez, Mr. Flynn, former principal, Mr. Stanford Francis, former vice principal, Mrs. Roberts, Mrs. Cheryl Pananthony, all part of this institution. And this used to be like a second home to them. Thank you, DI Club. JB at the back. He's the president of DI Club. You know, he's always at the back, and all this has happened pretty fast. And the last few days, there have been venues, and Miraj, who's sitting here, he was sitting in Gangtok, and he kept pushing everybody, what's happening, why this is not falling into place. And Priyanka, she's been coordinating. Where's Priyanka? Yeah, Priyanka. Sharon, you got call? Did you get a call from Priyanka? Yes, okay, so she's marked present. Okay, she's marked present. We have the press here. So we thank the Telegraph and the Times of India for being here today. Before I close, I have one question for Vishal, and then we take some questions from the audience. Vishal, the legal cases are going on. I know the 2 gentlemen sitting on my left. They're doing whatever is possible from their end. How are you arranging funds for this battle?
See, as of now, whatever funds have been required, ALMA has funded from their own funds. And some funds we've raised from students who have largely donated to ALMA for this. But of course, those funds are not enough. So we've gone ahead and made a trust. We're calling it the ALMA La Martiniere Fund. And as trustees, we have Mr. Anil Mukherjee as one of the trustees, and Ma'am Gopa Sen, she's one of the trustees, and there are a few trustees from the ALMA side. This fund is essentially designed to fund this legal battle, because as Ranjan said, this battle is not going to be a short one, because there will be appeals and appeals and appeals from High Court to Supreme Court. So we'll have to have some money in our coffers to fund it, and I will request all Martinians, irrespective of whether they are ALMA members or not, to come forward and provide fund for this fund to save our legacy and heritage, which you're all proud of and which has made us what we are today.
Right, Vishal. If anybody has any questions to ask, or you want to value add something for the topic today, your question can be addressed to a single panelist or to the panel. Anybody? Yes. Just introduce yourself and tell your name and your batch.
Hello everyone, I'm Sahil, I'm batch of 24. I had a question.
Now we know we don't have grandparents here, some of them, but they're probably super grandparents. Anil, aren't you feeling embarrassed? Yeah, 2000, no. Okay. Yes.
My question is to the panel as a whole, where you speak of the legacy of Lamartiniere, but is the ALMA doing anything for the plight of the teachers? For example, is the ALMA doing something for Mrs. Shushmita Chakraborty, who was suspended for reacting to a message with an emoji? Or is ALMA doing something for Mrs. Rakhi Bhattacharya, who was suspended for telling a child not to speak in vernacular, to the last of my knowledge? Because a school is as good as the teachers it has. And I feel that if we are not doing anything for the teachers, then what are we doing for?
The question is to the panel. Who would like to answer that?
I'll take that question. See, ALMA is there for any situation which arises where we need to step in. But the issue of Ma'am Shushmita is still premature for ALMA to step in right now, because no decision has been taken by the school. She's been suspended for some time, but they have not terminated her or taken any action against her. So if the need arises, we will be there for her.
Yeah, just, there's something to be added to the question. We will take all questions.
Yeah, just to amplify on what has been said. You see, so far as these teachers are concerned who feel that they have been wrongly treated because they have aired their views or opinions, we as the members of the legal fraternity, and I can vouch for the fact that there are a lot of ex-students of Lamartiniere who are now lawyers, and we would be happy to represent them. But I understand, so far as the case of Ms. Chatterjee is concerned, although she was offered legal assistance, she for the time being says that, she would perhaps want to gracefully retire from the school at this point of time. So it's a matter of personal opinion. But just to make it known that if any legal assistance is required by any teacher who has been wronged by the administration of the school, in that case, upon taking a cognitive decision with regard to the so-called wrongdoing, we as the members of the legal fraternity in the High Court at Calcutta and in other courts of the country, we are completely willing to offer assistance and do that pro bono. And just to clarify a point in this regard, so far as the expenses of conducting the litigation are concerned, I must bring forward that both Ranjan and myself, we have been acting pro bono in the matter all through. We have never even thought of charging any fraction of the fees that we would normally charge. So it's been a pro bono journey all along, and it will be, so long as our services are required. And I can also tell you that there are other junior members of the legal fraternity who are ex-students of Lamartiniere who are also prepared to step up and offer their services pro bono. Unfortunately, at this point of time, there has been an addition to the expenses of ALMA, because ALMA has appointed or engaged lawyers. I do not question their judgment on this. ALMA has appointed lawyers who are not members of the Lamartiniere fraternity. They are not ex-students of Lamartiniere, so they are naturally charging their legal fees, which is putting a burden on ALMA. And for that, we perhaps can step up and do a little bit. But what is really surprising is the amount of money that the administration is spending in fighting this litigation, which they should actually embrace and say that, yes, we recognize the need to change the manner of administration of the school, and let's do it together with consensus, not with animosity. And I can tell you that every time we have won in court, the administration has gone up on appeal to the division bench, to the Supreme Court, come back, again contested the matter before the single judge, lost there, again gone up before the division bench, and now the matter is before a division bench of the High Court. And apart from Ranjan and myself and someone who's representing ALMA who are acting pro bono in the matter, you can count at least 5 to 6 lawyers from Delhi who are being flown in to fight the battle against us, against the school, against the values and ethics of the school or the heritage of the school. And enormous amounts of money are being spent. But I do not know from where this money is being generated, who is funding this litigation, and what is the purpose of this expenditure. So I just wanted to make it clear that we are available whenever our services are required by the school, for the school, or by people who are connected with the school. And also that today, so far as the expenditure are concerned, we who are a member part of the legal fraternity for La Martiniere, we wouldn't think of charging a penny for our services. Thank you so much.
I'll just add one more thing here. Of course, yeah, that's what I'm saying. What Mr. Jishnu Shah mentioned, that where the money is coming from, the school, our school is funding it. So they are using our money to fund their own personal matter, which they should not be allowed to do. And another thing, of course, Mr. Shah and Mr. Bachawat are totally doing this pro bono. I'd like to mention one more thing. The ALMA solicitor, he has no connection with La Martiniere, but understanding the situation, he is also doing pro bono. So, Dubey, yeah, Mr. Surendra Dubey, he said, no, I will not charge fees for this. So, and he has no relation with La Martiniere at all.
Yeah. There was a hand which was come up from this side. Was there any hand here? Okay, Shane.
I actually wanted to point out something, and then Jishnu took the words out of my mouth. Basically, I think all of us need to appreciate the fact, and it's a repetition, of course, that both Jishnu and Ranjan have been at the forefront pro bono. And that needs to be strongly, repeated, so that everybody understands that. There are legal expenses, plenty of legal expenses, and I'm aware of them. And I can tell you confidently that ALMA has been, picking up the tabs for as long as this case has been going on. And this case has been going on only because, the question was asked, why did we not, I think Avik Saha asked this question, why did we not ask this question earlier? And fortunately, the opportunity came when I was, ceremoniously removed, and we had people like Anil Mukherjee on the board, along with the other 3 board members, who decided to stand up and object to my removal. And that's when we went to both Jishnu and Ranjan, and they decided to take up the cudgel on our behalf. And of course, this continues. So personally, we'd like to say thank you to the 2 lawyers and of course to ALMA for all that is being done to ensure that La Martiniere, at least we get back some of its legacy. I'd like to make one little clarification. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think Sharon pointed this out, mentioned it. I may be wrong, but as far as my knowledge of the will and the Constitution goes, the school was meant for the good of the children of Kolkata. It was never meant for the Christians of Kolkata. Let's be clear about that. I'll just say that. Let me say that. It was not the Christians. There was a small part of that were meant for the Christians, and I happen to be a beneficiary of that, a proud beneficiary of that, foundationship that Claude Martin wanted. Now, as I said, I may be wrong, but as far as I know, nowhere is it mentioned that the school was meant only for Christians. The will doesn't mention, the will only says the good of Kolkata. Yeah, that's right. I value that. I'm saying that I have never seen anywhere it being mentioned that It's meant for the Christian children of Kolkata. That's, I've never seen that. It's meant for the good of Kolkata.
It's in the 1832
I may be wrong.
order. So that's what I took out, and it has two parts to that, where it says the governors first select from the Christian population of Calcutta a number of children who would be entirely educated and supported. That is part. And the second part is, governors shall be at liberty to admit other boys and girls, being children of Christian inhabitants at Calcutta, upon condition of paying a reasonable and sufficient fee. So there are two parts to it in that 1832 order.
Jaydeep, you had raised your hand. Please.
I'll just mention one thing. Someone raised a point of ALMA helping the teacher. I just got information that one of our ex-students, an alumni, a lawyer, is already drafting a case against the school on behalf of the teacher. And ALMA is supporting it totally.
Just to add, what we already know is that while Jishnu is fighting the case pro bono, his son Ishan is a part of the ALMA team fighting the legal battle, and he is also working pro bono. So it's just not one generation, two generations of the same family. And let me share with you, Avik is Jishnu's first cousin, and he's also fighting the case pro bono, right? So we got a legal library, so we got all this. Number one, we're talking about legacy. Just to bring, I don't know how many of you are aware, Lamartine, when I graduated in 1982, my batch was 100 students. Today, a batch is close to 300, okay? It's 5 sections, 60 children each, within the same premise. The beauty of Lamartine was we had our headmasters and some senior teachers living on campus, so we could go to school anytime, and we were playing cricket, football, hockey on the field, and we always had that benefit of engaging with them while we were on the sides, on the, on the sides of the field, and what a lovely experience that was, which today is not available to any student of Lamartine boys, because all those housing has been removed and classrooms have been built to make it a larger number. So we know what's happening. It's, as an institution, if we ask anybody as the younger generation, would they want to put their children into Lamartine? I don't know if anybody will raise his hand here. Thanks.
1973 batch wants to say something. Am I correct? Okay, yeah. And I think after this, we'll take one more question and then we'll close. Yeah. We'll, after him. Yes.
Amit Ukil, 1973 batch, you're correct. I want to thank ALMA for what they've been doing so far and what they'll be doing in the future too. I've been a student. Some of our fathers have been students. Many of our sons and children are students. We talk about the legacy, we talk about the heritage, and we talk about our name. Now, over the past few years, or maybe even a few months, the name has been tarnished by a few things that have been going on. And my point is that there are several WhatsApp groups run by ex-Martinians, and many rumors come into these groups. Now, there are rumors about admission fees going up to 15, 16 lakhs officially for each student at the nursery stage. There are rumors about standards of teaching. There are several rumors. There's one rumor lately I heard that students at the level of class 8 or 9 are leaving the school to go on to better schools because they don't want the class 10 or class 12 standards are very poor now. Now, would ALMA be able to address these rumors whenever they come up? Because these questions, these topics are spread like wildfire when they come out. Now, which one is true, which one is not true? It all concerns the name of our school. So if ALMA could say something about this?
I want to say one thing, and I think I need to be very clear about this. ALMA will do and is doing what is required. I think it's the alumni which is now required to also speak up. High time. Okay, high time. You know, I mean, if that group is there, we need more voices to come up in that group. So I think, and it could start with you. So ALMA, we are aware of these issues, but I think at the end of the day, what Avik has just spoken about, this is what is required. So for example, I think Tubby was there, your batchmate. He's pushed off. Yeah, so let it start from the 1973 batch. Why wait for somebody else? So all I'm trying to say is it has to become not a mass movement. It has to become a mass global movement. Okay, it has to become a mass global movement.
Collective with one
And
purpose.
I have somebody from the US who's here right now. I mean, he's just come for 4 days for his personal work. I just told him, come over, and he's here, and he said, I want to bring my son along. I said, do that. So this is the point. ALMA, they will do whatever is required for that.
But you need more backing. You need the alumnus, the other alumni to
That's
back.
exactly what I'm saying. He said it's not only two legal people, and just now, the young boy who just stood up, he's taken the legal profession himself. And he's talking about the teachers. If everybody starts asking not only questions, ALMA will do what it is required to do, irrespective of the numbers. Okay, irrespective of the numbers, they will do that. Yes, Avik.
I'll address your question directly. You see, Jishnu and Ranjan mentioned it. The core is to change the board of governors. Once that happens, these rumors will cease to exist. And that's what ALMA is working on. Rather than, ALMA is not trying to cure the symptoms. It's gone right to the core. Board changes, everything will change. And in between, if there are hiccups, if there are, bad, sad incidents like Mrs. Chatterjee and others, ALMA will step in. But we will solve the problem foundationally. I think that's what the current ALMA leadership's intention is.
Yeah, I think before we go to this, ALMA is evolving and we have a lot to do, and that's where we need alumni to step up. Okay, Miraj, your question please. Anil, we'll take one from you and then we close. Yeah, whatever you would like to say.
So I'm Miraj Shah, I'm from 97 batch, Martin House. So it's not a question, basically I'm just, giving a view. Basically, I don't think so, there was a part of the discussion which said that why there was, noise not made before. I think so, being a 97 batch, we had about 120 in our batch. Today, as Jaydeep here says, it's about 300. So, you see, basically, it's the last 10, 15 years where we have seen steep deterioration and profiteering coming into the school. Today, the school is close to 7,000 students, 1.3 to 1.5 lakh fees. That's 100 crore rupees collected every year. 5 lakh rupees deposit taken officially. So with 7,000 students, you are sitting with 350 crore rupees of deposit earning 7% interest. It is that 150 crores, which is the madhu, which is attracting. Where did Martinians have BMWs and Audis and Mercedes in the school premises? Have we seen it? It is this deterioration. No one is against, maybe if you were there, 10 good Christians who are running it, will be very happy that they run it. I don't think so it's about Christians or Hindus or Muslims. We can even have those 12 who will come in and they will be crooks. I think so there is more than this independence. It's more to ensure that this misuse of funds, which has to be arrested, or else you will only replace these 6 with another 12. That's it. So I think so the courts have to be appraised of the financial issues of La Martiniere. TM Pai judgment, 11th judge of the Supreme Court said that not more than 15% profit is to be made. La Martiniere must be making more than 100, 200% profit. And if you cut down all these huge expenditures which are there, running in crores on renovation, I don't think so La Martiniere needs more than 40, 50,000 rupees per child. Why will you charge 1.5 lakhs for that? Why make it only a premier elite money-making business? That has caused the deterioration of La Martiniere. That needs to be arrested. That's my view. Thank you.
In some very, very strong figures. And Anil, we take it from you and then we close. No, whatever you have to say.
Fellow Martinians, I have nothing to say, to add to what's been said. I think everything that needed to be said has been said, except one thing, that all of us have, there have been shades about ALMA. I'll cut to the chase. I have a military background. We talk straight. I think there's been people saying all sorts of things over the past. ALMA is good, ALMA not good, blah, blah, blah. I think it's time we stood behind ALMA, each and every one of us, and it's time we loudly and forcefully supported them. Because without them, with all these gentlemen and ladies sitting here, we wouldn't be here today. So my request to all our fellow Martinians, and I'll do the same with my batch and the other batches, that let's put all this aside. The institution matters, the name matters, so let's get behind ALMA.
I'm sure the discussion will continue, but it will continue with tea and snacks now, right? Yes, Miraj. Oh, okay, so can we all, yes. Tea and snacks on the right-hand side. Okay, can everybody please, we'll finish with the national anthem. Okay, the national anthem, please. Please, everybody just come back, yeah.